Hey folks, Real Honesty with Jarmethlin. I'm Jarmethlin. This is 8 more ECW talents that were jobbers elsewhere. This is just a short series. I said in the beginning of the first video, I think even probably in the beginning of the second video, I shoot a lot so sometimes I don't remember the exact words, but I basically looked through the entire ECW roster, saw 24 talents that I felt could have been used a lot better in other companies, who were at least decent to big stars in ECW and seen as really good talents, and then were kind of just washed away when they got to other companies. Now, not all of them. Some of them found some really good success. Other ones, it's like you're watching, you're like, what? Why didn't they use them better? Like, honestly. So I'm here to tackle that, and this may not be as long as the other videos that I did, the other two videos I did on this, but it's just going to be the final part where I just hope you guys enjoy it. So anyway, let's dive right into it after that long introduction. Roadkill, Amish Roadkill. Him and Danny Doring were a decent enough tag team during the last year or so of ECW, and Roadkill was a really good, agile, big man. They had a good look, unique look, big guy, beard, the Amish look and everything. Wrestled in suspenders, actually wrestled pretty damn well in suspenders. Pretty good job there. I ended up Danny Doring on here because I can't really remember much of Danny Doring, like as far as being, except he was a good worker, and he could have been at least serviceable as a mid-card jobber in WWE. But I just don't think that there was ever any long-term plans for him as far as anything in WWE, which is a shame because he would have been somebody you could at least use on house shows. And maybe he was. I don't really remember. But I don't remember enough about the guy's career to really say anything. But Amish Roadkill just seemed like he should have been used a bit better. I mean, Vince does like big guys. You would think that a guy that was, he wasn't maybe the tallest. I mean, he was decently tall. And he was big, like as far as, kind of fat. But could move, was agile, could do some good moves off the ropes. Whether he would hit splashes or anything or this kind of stuff, he could be at least a fine mid-card monster for a few years. I'm not saying he would have had a long run or maybe even a run past 2010, but he at least could have been used a whole lot better. I always feel the Roadkill is a bit of a missed opportunity, even if the guy wasn't the best big man, could have been used better. Now we go to Rhino and WWE and TNA. Now his TNA run was better than his WWE run, let me just say that right off the bat. Besides his run as being Edge and Christian's, bodyguard or enforcer, and a bit of a run where he had, some hardcore matches with like Raven and stuff like that, and going to gore through a shopping cart, which was insane. I have no idea how he did that, and he gored Chris Jericho through the SmackDown set and stuff like that. His 2001 run was fine. He did suffer a neck injury at some point. Actually took him out for a while. And then when he came back in 2003, later 2002, I think early 2003, he got into a tag team with Benoit. And then turned on Benoit, Vengeance 03. Really wasn't used much after that. I remember cheering for him when he teamed with Tajiri against, I think, Hurricane and Rosie at a Sunday Night Heat taping right before Raw. The Raw where Gene Snitsky made his debut. Yes, I was there for that. And that was a lot of fun. But after that, he was not really used all that well. He had a match against Sabu at ECW One Night Stand. His TNA run, he was Jeff Jarrett's enforcer, then turned on that whole thing. Became NWA champion for a few days. After that, had a good feud with Abyss. Was really used as a solid mid-card to upper mid-card guy. And pretty damn good worker. He was really solid in the ring. Big guy, could move really well for what it was. Had a few with AJ Styles, had a few with James Storm. And the problem is that in the last few years of his run in the company, he just wasn't used well at all. Like, at all. He was just there. The EV 2.0 thing was ridiculous. There just wasn't much to the last few years of his TNA run, his TNA Impact Wrestling run. But it was better than his WWE run. I will say that right there because, like I said, after about the first year and a half of his WWE run, he wasn't really used all that well. Then we move on to Brian Lee. He was the fake Undertaker. It isn't a killer right there. I don't know what is. I believe he was part of DOA. DOA is one of the most forgettable stables ever, and of course it had the two Nazi Harris brothers. But the fake Undertaker thing, like, just made Brian, at least Brian Lee got used better in ECW after that. I mean, that was shortly, I think his ECW run happened shortly after the fake Undertaker thing, which was ridiculous. And it just was. It was not good. It was not really good at all. Just, even though it sort of worked if you looked at it, from really far away, didn't look at it for more than a few seconds. It really didn't work. And I mean, he was used better in ECW than he was in WWE. He was used well in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, at least based on what I've seen. And then you had Shane Douglas, who he was one of the best. He was one of the best heels that ECW ever had. I'm not the biggest Shane Douglas fan, but my God, he was a great heel. Could elicit a lot of great heat. The whole thing he did with Gary Wolf and Gary Wolf's neck and everything that him and Francine did, was great. It was great stuff. As much as I'm not, like I said, the biggest Shane Douglas fan, I got to give him props for having a great ECW heel run. During that, he did have a short WWE run where I think he had a really, if I remember right, I think it was the 1991 Rumble. And he had a really good run in there. It reminded me a bit of Bo Dallas's run in the 2013 Rumble, I think. 2013, 2014? Yeah, 2013. Which was pretty cool. I mean, it was pretty cool to see Shane Douglas in that Rumble. He was in WCW he was in WCW before that. He was part of the Dynamic Dudes, and then he was part of a team with Ricky Steamboat, which was a really good team, and actually that team was featured in one of my favorite Starrcade matches ever. It was Starrcade '92, which I was going to do 25-year reflection on, but I actually won't because I don't have time, and I could just refer to my Starrcade history series that I did on my complete WCW pay-per-view history playlist. Cheap plug for that. But it was Steamboat and Shane Douglas versus Brian Pillman and Barry Windham. It was a great match. Great match. But anyway, he was in ECW for a while, did pretty well, was the whole, they can all kiss my ass through the NWA title down. Then he was Dean Douglas, and that didn't work. And then he went back to ECW, had a really good run, despite all the injuries, put over Taz, went to WCW, was bloated, out of shape, and everything. And I mean, he had drug issues, and he had injury issues and this kind of stuff, but he was in WCW, and that was not good. Because even by that point, he was really beaten down. And then he had the TNA run, where he threw up in the ring. Now, I don't know if he got kicked in the groin and threw up. I don't know if it was a substance thing. Oh my God, it was vile. It was so vile. It was the head shaving one, where Raven's scalp got bloodied up even more. But yeah, outside of ECW, Shane Douglas just, there was just not a lot of pop to him. Now, a lot of that could have been uncreative, and I don't know what to do with him, but yeah, his runs outside of ECW, not great. It was nice that he found a nice backstage role as an announcer, as a backstage interviewer in Impact Wrestling, and as a manager of the Naturals. That actually might have been my favorite moment outside of his ECW run in his career. I mean, it was really, really good fitting, and it was nice to see the Naturals, one of the most underrated tag teams of the last number of years, get a chance to shine and feud with AMW and not the beer, but it was a root beer, but I mean America's Most Wanted, not AMW. Now we go to Louis Spicolli. He was Rad Radford. That's it. That was mid-90s WWE. Not that Louis Spicolli, I think, would have ever been a huge talent, but at least he was used better in other companies, especially ECW, or at least used decently compared to being Rad Radford. And then, of course, Super Crazy, because he rode a riding lawnmower because he's Mexican. Who the fuck booked that? Who has a hatred of Mexicans backstage? Was it Michael Hayes? Was it Laurinaitis? Was it I don't know who it was. Whoever it was, might have been Kevin Dunn. I don't know why, and I don't know why Kevin Dunn would want people to, clip his lawn or whatever. He could just take those teeth. You just take those Bucky Beaver teeth and trim the damn grass. Somebody could hold him up, like lawn clipper style, and he could just do that. He could probably trim down a damn rose bush, 50-foot rose bush in about 10 minutes, because that's all that he does. This stupid damn fuck that I hope gets fired from that company, and it's a miserable, He's got so much damn money, he's never going to end up poor. I just hope that he's miserable knowing that he's one of the worst things to ever happen in wrestling. Yeah, can't stand Kevin Dunn. He's a fucking idiot. And I don't like necessarily mocking people's appearances unless I really just don't like them. And yeah, I can't stand Kevin Dunn. I would say that somebody should knock those Bucky Beaver teeth out, but I figure that if somebody tries to punch him, they might break their damn hand. Because the teeth are so goddamn big. It's like watching that, that zombie beavers movie, except you actually root for the beavers to actually eat the people. And I'm not sure, I don't know, maybe it was based on Kevin Dunn. Maybe the creators actually hated Kevin Dunn more than I do, which, I would hope so, because Kevin Dunn's a piece of shit. Moving on from that. Super crazy. Great talent. The Riding Lawnmower theme is shit. Hate it. Absolutely hate it. Deserved better. Deserved a lot better. Too Cold Scorpio, he was Flash Funk. The entrance is kind of cool. I never really cared for the Funkettes. They were just there. They were never bad people or anything, but they were just there. Too Cold Scorpio's a great athlete. He was great in WCW. He was great in ECW. The brief times that he was in WCW, I think he was only in there for a couple of years. He was great in ECW. He could have been bigger in WWE, but didn't really have much. I think he had his debut at Survivor Series 96, if I remember right. Or that was at least his pay-per-view debut. And I think by later 97, early 98, he was out of the company and back in ECW. Great talent, though. Could still even pull out a really good match at Impact Wrestling's Hardcore Justice, the ECW reunion show. He pulled out a really good match there, or at least some really good flippy shit. No, he's a great wrestler. It's just his WWE run should have been better because at that point he was still in the prime of his career. And C.W. Anderson, to round out the whole thing, I'm not saying that C.W. Anderson would have ever been more than just a mid-card jobber or lower-card jobber in WWE. But he was a good enough worker. Delivered probably one of the better to best matches in later ECW against Tommy Dreamer at Guilty as Charged 2001, the last official pay-per-view of the ECW brand. No, I'm not referring to ECW One Night Stand 2005. That was a WWE production. Let us never forget that. or the 06 One Night Stand, or ECW December to Dismember. I am still cross that pay-per-view exists. But C.W. Anderson could have been, probably would have just been a lower card guy, but you're thinking it was only about 5.5 years. You're telling me you couldn't have gotten something out of that guy? They had the Zombie, they had a whole bunch of other people, the Nacho Libre guy, the Macho Libre. You're telling me they couldn't do better than that? Tell me they couldn't do better than that. Anyway, that's really just it. So anyway, I really hope you guys enjoyed that. And watch all 3 of the shows. If you watch this one, watch the other 2. And remember the names. Not Gold Dust, but remember that, not that. I can't do the Gold Dust impression very well. Watch those, and if there are any other ECW talents you can think of, if I get enough of a list, I might even do a 4th part. But for now, this will be the end of the show. So anyway, do you agree? Do you disagree with what I said? Do you think maybe I was a little too praising of some of these guys? Think I wasn't praising enough? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Also, been Real Honesty with Jarmethlin. I'm Jarmethlin, and I will see you soon.